welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. So we're going to pick up exactly where we left off from the last video, and that is with Chris Watts' letters. Again, you can find these letters in the book by Cherlyn Cadle. The title of the book is The Murders of Christopher Watts. You can find it at Amazon or Kindle. And I just want to say first, a thank you all for the love you guys showed on the last video. I was shocked how much love you guys actually showed it. I was a little iffy if I should go into the letters because I know this book has so much controversy behind it. And I just want to say that I'm not sharing these letters with you guys to convince you guys to believe them or not to believe them. That is completely up to you guys. I'm just sharing these things with you so we can discuss it. And with that being said, let's get started with the video. We're going to be looking at the letter where he talks about what happened after he was arrested on August 15th. I can't seem to see the date for this letter, but if you want to go and read it for yourself, it is on page 254. So after Chris was handcuffed, we know that he is placed in a cop car vehicle and then he was taken to Weld County Jail. He says as soon as he gets there, he was booked, fingerprinted, and had his photo taken. After that, he was taken to a cell where he was put in a suicide turtle suit, and it was called a suicide watch pad. So once they shut that door and he's all alone in that room, this is where it hits him and he starts thinking, is this my life? Is this how it's going to be? And he's standing there, he said, all alone and in the dark. And this is where he tells himself, nothing is adding up and it feels like none of this can be real. And I'm sure that's exactly the same thing that Shanann's family was saying. While he's alone in this dark room wearing his cute little turtle suit, he says that he sees two figures standing there in the dark. And he thinks his mind is like playing tricks on him. But once he realizes that these figures are really there, he sees that it's a male and a female. Female is wearing this black Victorian style dress, and he soon realizes that it's his grandmother, and then the male was his grandfather from his mom's side. So he says that this grandmother and grandfather, that they were just staring at him and their eyes were as red as blood. And he got this eerie feeling that came over him because he had these four eyes just staring at him like they were piercing his soul in a bad way, he said. And if someone's piercing your soul, would it be in a good way? He said that it made him feel like he was in some kind of trance and he just couldn't stop staring at them. So it's like these four eyes are just staring at him and he's staring right back at them and he just couldn't look away, he said. Well, eventually, I guess they disappeared because then they were no longer there. And he said because of that, he couldn't sleep that night. He said that if they came back, it would only get worse and he couldn't let his guard down. So after we just listened to that story time by Chris, he says that he was there in that unit for a week. And then after that, he was then taken to the restricted housing, which he then called with hashtags the hoe. He says that as soon as he went there, he noticed what a big difference the two units were. In the suicide unit, it was quiet, it was just him. But as soon as they took him to the hole, I guess, when they walked him down, that there were from the other inmates, they were screaming and shouting at him and saying all kinds of crazy stuff to him. Stuff like, I'm gonna rip your face off and go kill yourself and I'm going to F your wife in the afterlife. Okay. He says this went on for weeks and weeks, and he was telling himself this must be what hell feels like this is hell for him. And he said that all these comments and all these inmates that were shouting all these things to him, he said they were like daggers hitting his heart. Oh my goodness. I just want to say, with the whole new light of Chris filing this 35C motion, and we listened to KK, who went live yesterday, and that's Kim Kaufman, and how she said that Chris is scared to come back to Colorado because he doesn't want to have to like relive all of those moments there. And I think this is exactly one of them, that he doesn't want to have to go back into this how of the hoe and deal with all the other inmates telling him all these things. And who knows how long this process can take, up to years. And just imagine what he's thinking, like he doesn't want to have to deal with it. And I personally think Chris is scared that he isn't I don't think Chris is man enough to deal with, being there and having to go through and listen to all this crap. I think he is a coward, and I honestly do not believe he's going to end up filing the 35C motion. That's just my personal opinion on it. So, because the inmates were constantly yelling and saying all this crazy stuff, and we know that Chris in the prison interview also said that, they were telling him different ways to take his own life in the cell. Put your head in the toilet, drown yourself, stuff like that. So this is where he picked up the Bible and started reading the Bible. And some days it was just really hard for him to focus because all of the screaming and horrible things that were being said to him. But he ended up finishing the Bible within 2 weeks, he said. Let's not forget all the horrible letters he was getting also while he was in there. And I just think that, this so far, where is it that he feels horrible for what he's done? He hasn't said any of that. It's all me, 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 me. Poor me, poor me. This thing is, piercing my soul and hurting my heart, and, about what he's going through. But not once is it what, feeling horrible for what he did to his two daughters, to his pregnant wife. We haven't heard that yet. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. Still haven't heard it. Said he had to stay in the hole for 5 weeks. And I wanted to read you guys something that I found on in an article about what the hoe means. The hoe, the new term for solitary confinement. It's a place they take you when you break one of their rules, or at least they say you did. It's supposed to be a deterrent from future acts of whatever they deemed misconduct to be. The hoe is a crazy place. F the hoe. Chris's lawyers would visit him 3 to 4 times a week, and he was so thankful for them to visit him because this was his only human contact that he was having. And he said that they treated him so well, and they treated him more like a friend and not like a client, and they were so compassionate to him. And he said that if he ever needed anything, they would come immediately. And if he was struggling for something, they would show up for him. And I just think it's so weird how he says that they didn't look at him like a client. They looked at him like a friend. And if he needed them, they'd show up immediately. So we know on November 5th that his lawyers had flown out Cindy, Ronnie, and Jamie to go visit with Chris right before he was about to take that plea deal. And he said that, that visit was so heartwarming for him. And he was able to spend time with each family member for about 30 minutes. And a lot of us have seen those visits and listened to what each family member said. And I remember when I first watched that, I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable seeing it in a way. I felt like that was probably something that should have been kept private and not, shown for everybody to see. And we know the family got a lot of hate for it because of what Cindy was saying. And people were wondering, why is Cindy smiling? Why is Jamie laughing? And again, I'm not going to pass any judgment on the family for what they said or what they didn't say or how they seemed that day. But Chris said after that, he was really emotional, and they had moved him out to another secured unit. And this unit was just him by himself, so he was able to, talk to not the prisoners. He was able to talk to the officers, and some of them he would talk to really well. Some of them could care less about him and didn't want to have no contact with him or conversations with him, but he would talk to some of them and talk the Bible and all that stuff with them. And after the sentencing, he says that he was having a hard time keeping it together, which I have a hard time believing that. I wonder if he was really feeling any real remorse or emotion because of what he had done, or was he more emotional, having a hard time because he was just told he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. But he talks about that, when he goes back to his unit, that he was pretty upset, and a guard noticed this, and he asked the guard if he would pray with him. And to his surprise, the guard said yes. And he said, you got to picture it, that there was this guard in his uniform and a prisoner in an orange jumpsuit praying together. It was such a beautiful thing to him. It seemed like it was the highlight of his prison stay. And he goes on to quote different Bible verses, and that's pretty much where it ends for that letter. He does go on to talk about, like I said, verses in the Bible and some other stuff. But if you want to read the complete letter and for his word for word of the letter, then again, you can get the book on Amazon or even Kindle. But for me, with this letter, I just feel like he still just doesn't take responsibility. And I feel like that still to this day, 2.5 years later, I still feel, has he taken responsibility? I mean, you have one person, one channel saying they talked to Chris, and that Chris has taken responsibility, has come to terms for what he has done. He knows that he's in prison forever, and he's dealt with that, and he's dealing with it, and he's come to terms with it. And then you have another channel saying they talked to Chris, and that, he's going back to the original confession and saying Shanann's the one that, hurt the girls, and he then hurt her. So it's like, who do you believe with this? And who knows what's really true, if Chris really has, come to terms with everything. I'm still waiting for the truth to come out of his mouth. But then one thing, when I say that, I always tell myself, even when he does tell the truth, how are you going to know that that's the freaking truth? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I really do want to know what you guys think about this one. And as always, I will talk to you guys all soon. Bye.